Let's learn about Tasseomancy. Well, shit. Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and today we're going to talk about Tasseomancy.
The predictive practice, not the bodacious band.
Otherwise known as Tassology, Tasseomancy is divining or fortune-telling from the ritual reading of tea leaves, coffee grounds, and other beverage sediments.
If you don't believe me, here's the basic beverage bitch from the BC.
Like so many of the fine things in life, Tasseomancy began with Roman wine. Not the swill of the modern day, but true Roman wine. Full of herbs, unfiltered. It had to be watered down, thus its richness and decadence overwhelmed the palate.
Venerating a volume of fallacious flavor.
For letting us know, you lush. The Romans started reading wax drippings using a method called Tasseomancy, or melting lead called malignomancy, around the same time. Reading the junk in your dressed up gas station wine isn't much different.
Well, you certainly gave her the tea. It seems a bit queer to go so deep
Oh my.
into the history of wine.
Oh, boo.
My mother told me that tea is native to China and was discovered 2,000 years before Rome existed.
Considering cultural beliefs and medical means of use, speculation springs up as something oh so sacred and particularly pervasive.
Just a thought, but I'm guessing you didn't find anything in English about Chinese tea divining.
If anyone knows a good resource, please leave it in the comments below.
And to find your favorite social media star, search for the logo that leads to the legend herself.
Or just like and subscribe. You know, whatever.
Western society only found out about tea in the late 18th century, with Tasseomancy becoming popular in the early 19th century. Because of the ubiquitous nature of tea, Tasseomancy was considered socially acceptable.
Wealthy wenches and comely country folks trusted the tasseomancy of tea, while silver was rarely allowed to slide across palms. At the same time, hatters were going quite mad with the mercury used to make fancy hi-hats.
What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? I prefer coffee anyway.
Well, let's talk about coffee then. Coffee is native to Ethiopia, but was first cultivated in Yemen, which was part of the Ottoman Empire. In some ways, it was considered a holy drink. The Sufi, after a long day of hard work, would consume coffee to give them energy to perform their ecstatic devotions. Of course, when people found out about its energy-giving properties, it took off like wildfire. It's said to have made it as far as the Sultan's harem. So this is where I get some conflicting stories from tertiary sources. I found one source that said that the ladies of the harem would have their coffee read daily by a professional. Imagine having that gig. I also heard another source tell me that it was forbidden to write about the harem? I don't know. So paraphrasing, but PBS told me that in 1511 a local lawmaker tried to outlaw coffee because they were gossiping about him at the local coffee house. There was some pretense about it being an intoxicant, and then at the time and place, intoxicants were illegal. The Sultan basically laughed it off and reversed the order. So we know that it was pretty common in the area around the time. To take a moment and fully appreciate this outfit. Not the shoes, they're tennis shoes, ignore the shoes. But look at this. I made this outfit. But my favorite piece is the piece that I did not make. This belt buckle. Look at the detail. I got this from Drogo from Rabenwald Forge. If I screwed that up, I'm sorry. But I will put a link below so that you can check out his forge. Because he's renowned for making historical metal pieces and unique camping gear. And honest to God, I gave him a couple of Pinterest posts and some money. That's what I did. I was like, could you make this little thing that I see on a, primary source painting? I don't know how much research you put into it, but it's beautiful, and it looks exactly like the picture. There are so many rituals and practices surrounding the making of tea that we could go on for hours without making a proper dent into the information. Many types of plants, herbs, and flowers can be used, but be careful. You really don't want to just put anything into a pot of boiling water. Some parts of an otherwise benign plant can be toxic. They can also exacerbate medical conditions or interact with certain medications. If you're unsure about what you're about to put in your teapot, then please consult a tea expert or your physician.
If you don't know what it is, and you don't know what it does, then don't put it in your mouth. We are not responsible for you people.
For tips and tricks dealing with the preparation of tea and Turkish coffee, please look at the links below. Have you ever had a bread butterfly? No. They're very hard to catch.
If you're interested in how to make Turkish coffee, there are some videos in the playlist at the end of this video. But now let's talk about the most important part of Tasseomancy. Socializing while drinking your tea or coffee is how this form of divination began. As you can imagine, this type of divination is not conducive to a cold read because Tasseomancy is meant to be cathartic and therapeutic.
Gossip gives insight into the problems posed to the person.
Once upon a time, the person the village would turn to read tea leaves was a respected elderly lady in the community. Chances are she'd already know what you were coming to talk about.
first thing we must do is sip our tea down to just a little bit in the bottom. Just enough to kind of keep things moving. Now we're going to take our saucer and place like a lid on top. Hold it tightly. We're going to spin it 3 times. 1, flip it over. Make sure you have your saucer on tightly. Now we're going to just leave it alone for about 2 minutes. Assume it's been 2 minutes. Bats and broomsticks. It's going to be a lovely day. With the exception of a few traditional symbols, Turkish coffee reading and coffee reading are pretty much the same. I mean, if you've been watching this channel for long enough, you know how I feel about going through individual symbols.
Dream dictionaries do provide a plethora of culturally significant symbols or signs.
In practice, many usually turn up being doorstops, and I've never seen a definition for a duck-billed platypus in a cop's hat. Look, the message is for you. The symbols are probably already familiar to you. You don't need to go digging till you go mad and start thinking you're a YouTube star.
Tasseomancy is kind of like a Rorschach test in that there's no right or wrong answer. What people don't understand about the Rorschach test is it's actually about how you see what you see, not necessarily what you see. So if you're reading for someone else, ask them about what they see in the cup and then listen to how they respond.
I see boobs. The macrocosm reflects the microcosm.
Of course it does. And the future events, plus your subconscious. Although traditionally the reading is considered short-term, with things at the top being immediate, and things at the bottom being usually no more than 6 months away. This crazy old man can explain more.
We're going to take a good look at your cup, which you'd have already drank. There are just a few things to remember. Number 1, the handle represents the person being read. 2, as you turn the cup, you'll see more detail. I've heard conflicting things about which direction to turn. The important thing is to make it all the way around so that you can see all the details. Now, I read my cup from the bottom to the top. Some people read from the top to the bottom. This is a highly intuitive process, so go with your instinct. It may be difficult to get the hang of this at first, but give it some practice and some time. And enjoy your tea.
I see a penis.
I see tea leaves.
Here you go.
Did you ever try reading the cream in your coffee?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about including that, but it's more like scrying than tasseomancy.
But it's still reading something, my darling.
I agree, but if you think about it, the tea leaves and the coffee grounds are still. When you're reading like the cream in your coffee, it's more like scrying because the shapes sort of float around and they don't really sit still. So it's kind of like reading smoke, and eventually it dissipates. Also, I couldn't find anything about it when I went to look.
Well, that's about time to wrap it up. Good thing, too, because I need to go pee.